following broadcast is a production of HCC TV.
Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
Hi, I'm George Luna.
I'm Brittany Pacheco.
And I'm Frank Cooper.
And we are
The
Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are coming to you from the Main Street Studios here at HCC TV. And once again, we're in the basement. And once again, it's very cold down here.
Still cold.
Very frigid.
You know what? That's okay, though, because we're talking about Game of Thrones today. And it's very cold in Winterfell right now.
Oh, yeah.
No complaints.
Before we get going, just want to remind you, every Monday we'll be here reviewing the latest episode of Game of Thrones. It's the final season, so we're here to send it out the best way we can.
Yep.
But before we get started, before you hear from us, we want to hear from you. Please follow us on social media. We're on every platform basically, and please use the hashtag WatchersBasement to let us know what you think about the show, what you think about the episode we're reviewing. Tell us what you think. We want to hear from you. Okay, so let's get down to the episode.
Oh, yeah.
So last night's episode was entitled A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yep.
And so let's turn to my friend Brittany here for her breakdown of the episode. What does that mean? What does a Night of the Seven Kingdoms mean?
It's a really, really cool meaning, but I'm not going to jump into it right just now. You're going to have to wait to find out the significance of what it means to be a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. But before we really jump into it, like I said, I'm going to talk about something we didn't get a chance to talk about last episode because there was just so much to unpack with the season premiere. Opening credits, guys. We've got new opening credits, which is really cool because it depicts the new details of the storyline from the past 7 seasons. With the rings mainly, it opens up with the Night King and the reanimated Viserion breaking through the wall, which has never been done before up until this moment.
A lot of gold. A lot of gold.
It's a lot of gold, yeah. It's definitely a lot of gold. Continuing with the rings, we see the depiction of the Red Wedding. We see the Golden Lion because, as you guys may already know, the Lannisters kind of orchestrated this massacre at the Red Wedding. They did?
Spoiler.
R.I.P. Robb Stark, by the way, and Talisa and everybody there. And then finally with the rings, the last thing we see is the birth of Dany's children, her dragons, under a bleeding star. Prophecy? Azor Ahai. But also on the map, we now are focusing on just 3 specific locations of the map. Again, we begin beyond the wall, which is the very first time that we've started from that direction. We move to Last Hearth, R.I.P. Little Ned Umber, and all of the House Umber. But also one thing, I don't know if you guys caught this, maybe George, I think you mentioned it the other day. When you see the progression of the dead moving towards Winterfell.
You see the little tiles like on the floor, they start turning white.
They flip from white to blue.
Like winter is coming.
Like winter is coming. So we're gradually seeing the progression of the army moving towards Winterfell. So that's
detailed.
Yeah.
It's really detailed.
It's almost like too much to look for. Like it's like
Yeah.
you kind of have to watch it like
Several
10
times.
times like what
Yeah,
we do.
a lot of
Every
Easter eggs,
episode,
little things that you can miss.
Exactly. And of course, we're still at Winterfell. We still see the exterior of Winterfell. But also we're zooming in more into the interior parts of the castle. We see the courtyard, we're seeing the Great Hall, which a lot of has taken place already at the Great Hall, and a lot more will probably be happening, and well, for sure in this episode and then episodes to come. And one new area that we're seeing is the crypts, which plays a really, really, really significant role in this episode particularly.
They talk about it a lot.
They talk
Too
about it a
much.
lot. A little too much. Yeah, I agree
Too
with
much.
that. And finally, the last spot on the map that we're looking at is King's Landing. Obviously, how can you have Game of Thrones without King's Landing? Still the exterior of the castle, the Red Keep. We're going to zoom in from aerial.
That's my favorite shot. Like when it goes into the stairs and then you see the stairs like spiraling.
Yeah,
up,
but
and
did
then
you
the
also
camera goes
notice
inside.
Cersei's map?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the floor.
Of course you did. You're so
Yeah.
detail-oriented like that. And then we go under the Red Keep, where we see the dragon skulls and Qyburn's scorpion there, and then back up to the throne room. You see the Iron Throne.
I love how
I love how it comes out like that. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's really
The sound effects are amazing as well.
They look
I
really
think it
good,
sounds
but,
so cool.
but the Lannister sigil is hanging over the Iron Throne.
For now.
For now. So, what do y'all think of the new opening credits, Justin?
I like them. I mean, like I said, there's a lot to them. There's a lot to look for. I mean, I like the song. The song gets me so excited
Yeah.
just when it comes back. So like,
Do you start singing it? Like dun dun dun.
I think everyone- I think
yeah,
everyone comes
yeah, it's definitely like, yeah, I'm singing it.
Okay.
I like the credits. I think it's a lot to look at. It's a lot like
Yeah.
it's almost like too much to process for me. I'm so ready for the episode to start. I'm like, oh, this is all cool, but let's get to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. George, what's
No,
your
I
take?
love it. It's like super detailed. I love I just like the fact that they changed it and they're sticking to the 3 like places or that's gonna be the show's focused on right now. And
Right.
honestly, the thing I love is like the sound effects of everything. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's just so
It's really
I don't
cool.
know. It's very detailed.
It's
I
really
like
cool.
it.
What about you, Frank?
I'm with Justin, man. It put me on edge. Like
Really?
I wanted to just focus on the episode itself, and I feel like I had to do homework the first 3.5 minutes before the show even starts. It's like
Right.
because I was watching the show the first run, I'm like, man, do I need to rewind back to the beginning and see if I missed anything? Maybe some clues, some foreshadowing. And like I caught myself pausing 4 or 5 times, see, okay, what's on that crown? What's in
my
the
God.
crypt? It was just a lot. I mean, I appreciate the artistry of it. It's just like, okay, let's focus on the meat of the show. I don't want to work with the skin and the bone. I want to focus with the meat.
Yeah.
So, but it was good though. It was very creative. Yeah.
I think I'm going to stand alone in this one, maybe just a little bit. I like the credits, don't get me wrong. I feel it's moving too quickly, which kind of reminds me of how quickly season 7 kind of like flew by. There's a lot to focus on, like y'all have stated. I just don't feel maybe it's as refined as the previous opening credits, but maybe I'm just like really critical. But it's cool, don't get me wrong, it's cool, but I think I'm just very partial to the old opening credits as opposed to the new one. Did y'all think like a new opening credits was going to be like created or?
I mean, they've changed it before, right? Like just like little changes between
never
them.
changed the
I didn't think it
look.
would
But they
be
never
that
changed
much.
the
Yeah, it
look.
looks.
It definitely
Yeah.
looks different.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was about time, like to make
Okay.
everything like go with
Final
make
season.
It, yeah,
Makes
final
sense.
season. They got to
Yeah.
make it look nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. Cool. Well, like I said, we didn't get a chance to talk about that last time, but definitely I'm glad I got y'all's input
yeah.
today. So this episode begins in Winterfell. And let me just point out, there's no Cersei, no King's Landing, no dragons
Thank God.
in this episode. But the theme that I took away from this episode is reunions, continued reunions, and redemption for many characters. Starting off with Jaime Lannister and Dany. They're kind of like having a face-off in a way. Dany quotes, from the trailer, "When I was a child, my brother would tell me bedtime stories about the man who murdered our father," meaning Jaime. And she goes on to say what they would do once they took back the 7 kingdoms, what they would do to that man. And Jaime's just there listening to it. But he also reveals that Cersei had no intentions of helping the North. He lied to her. She lied to Dany. She lied to Jaime, and
Tyrion too.
And Tyrion,
Yeah.
exactly. So Dany's pretty much like, I don't see an army. I see one man with one hand. That was kind of a low blow, in my opinion.
It's a shot at him.
But Tyrion obviously is going to defend his brother because they're brothers. He's like the one friend in the world that he really does have. And Jaime pretty much says that everything that he had done for his previously was for his family, for his house, because Sansa has said he can't be trusted.
Yeah.
Think about back to season 1. He attacked Ned, outside of Littlefinger's brothel, killed Jory, all this other kind of stuff. Yeah, he was pretty cool. And then, of course, Bran. Bran being Bran is echoing the things we do for love, And Jaime's kind of taken aback a little bit, right? And but Bran comes out, and stands up for Jaime. She says, he is an honorable man. He's done all these wonderful things for me. You should trust him. And Sansa says, okay, I trust you. You'll vouch for him. Cool. I think Dany was kind of taken aback. Like, I'm the queen. Why are they looking to her? That kind of deal. Dany then looks to Jon, and now Jon's addressed as Warden of the North, right? And he says, we need every man we can get. Dany ultimately concedes. And afterwards, she rips into Tyrion even more in the hallway and basically says, either you knew what your sister was going to do, you're either a traitor or you're a fool. If you can't help me get the Iron Throne, I'm going to find someone who will. So what do you think about this whole opening scene? Do you think Jaime has redeemed himself by coming to the North, knowing how the families have major rifts? Has all been forgiven?
I think the scene itself, it plays a bigger narrative. Like you have 3 families: Lannister, Stark, Targaryen, in that one scene, and it shows you that the past squabbles these houses have had with each other, but at the same time, it's showing you that none of that matters anymore.
Right.
And that's what John's been preaching this last season or so. Like, yeah, we've had issues in the past, and like if you notice, John's not saying anything. John's
No.
like,
Well, John's got other issues
yeah,
too.
John, yeah, he
Work
has other
out.
issues. Yeah, he's distracted, but at the same time, he's been echoing this for the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Like this needs to be put to the side. We have to worry about what's going on beyond the wall, and now just on our front doorsteps, right?
And Jamie does echo that. He says this isn't about loyalty, and
Yes.
he looks at Brienne.
Yes.
Brienne, I'm sorry. You know, this is about survival. So yeah, I think to your point, you know, Jamie's kind of echoing exactly what Jon has said too.
Of course.
So
Of
what
course.
do y'all think about Jamie's
I like how
redemption?
Brienne came out of the bullpen to save Jamie, and
Did y'all see that coming?
Reference there.
Did y'all see that coming, or did
Yeah,
you
I
think
kinda
someone
thought it
else
would
was
happen.
going to
yeah,
like
I,
come to bat
I
for
thought
him?
Tyrion would come go to bat for him. I
Yeah.
kind of thought maybe Bran might say something, but obviously he says it before that.
Right.
But I really like what she said. There's one thing she could have said that I think really would have put it over the top, is if she would have said, hey, you want to know why he's the Kingslayer? He killed your dad because your dad was an awful person. He was burning people. He was the Mad King for a reason. Like that's
Magnificent.
like I wish she could have said that. I mean, she did a great job. This was definitely her episode.
Yeah.
I think she won the episode.
Yeah.
But I really wish she would have just mentioned like, hey, like he did that to save a lot of people. You know, it wasn't just because he wanted to kill some guy from behind, and like he's an honorable person, and even doing that,
Yeah.
he got the stain that he's the Kingslayer, and everybody called him that, but like he did that to save people.
Because unfortunately, only like 3 people know why Jamie really did that.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
now Brienne.
Right.
I think
Brienne.
Tywin, maybe Tywin might know.
I think Tywin knew, and then Tyrion for
and
sure.
Tyrion.
knows.
Right.
That's it. The
Right.
Seven Kingdoms sees him as a monster, someone who betrayed his vows, but he did it to save the kingdoms.
Yeah.
That's true.
So no, that I agree with that.
Yeah.
That would have been lovely to have that callback to season 2 when Brienne and Jamie in the tub, and he
Yeah.
basically confesses like why he did what he did,
Right.
and how it pains him to be called Kingslayer.
And that really wins her over at that time. Back
Yeah,
then,
it
she's
really
like,
does.
he is a good guy.
Yeah.
So.
George, what do you think?
No, y'all pretty much covered it here, like on that. So I agree with Justin. Like if they would have mentioned that, I thought it was gonna lead to that. I thought they were gonna.
Yeah.
She was actually gonna say, and then they like, oh, okay, like all right, then
Do you think
I could see like Danny would be like, oh, okay, like
Right.
wow, I didn't know.
But do you think it really would have mattered to Danny, or
Probably
she's
not.
just
She's,
such?
she's so stubborn, and dude. Like,
But I think it
It
would have
wouldn't
mattered
matter.
because it would have mattered to everyone else to hear that.
Yeah, in the
You know what
house.
I mean?
That's
because
fair.
they're clearly not on Danny's side, but they may not like Jamie either. But
Mm-hmm.
at least they're going, okay, I understand. Like, he did that for more than just his own selfish reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
True. So Frank, I have a specific question to you because in our premiere episode of The Watchers in the Basement, you talked about what you thought was going to happen in season 8, and you mentioned about Tyrion and Cersei having cut a deal. Do you still think that that's true, or did Jamie pretty much confirm that like Cersei just lies?
I think it confirmed that the deal is still put in place, because Tyrion reaffirms. He asked that question again, like, "Are you sure Cersei's pregnant?" Right? And Jaime says, "Yes, she's not lying about that." I think Tyrion asking that was to reaffirm that, okay, this deal is still set in place, but I'm doing this strictly for this baby.
Okay.
Strictly for the future.
So you
of,
still
of
think there's a
Lannister.
deal in place?
I think so.
So what Jamie said about, Cersei had no intentions of helping the North. She now has the Golden Company that is basically going to wipe out everybody else in the event the dead don't. So you're staying true to your theory of...
Absolutely. I don't think Tyrion switches sides, but I think Tyrion withholds information that's unbeknownst to Dany. And in Dany's eyes,
Is he a
Dany-
traitor or is he a fool?
I think it's both. The last couple of seasons have shown when Tyrion's family is in the way, or when emotion gets crowds his mind, his intelligence, he makes bad decisions.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm with
From
that.
Marine to Castle Rock to trusting his sister who lies for a living as
Yes.
a full-time job to think that she was actually going to bring
the armies.
people up north. But,
Yeah.
But Jamie solely believes that she's pregnant, and I think she's still pregnant.
There's a point I want to make about that, but we'll get into that a little later. Moving on to another reunion between Gendry and Arya. And I say another reunion because we really didn't have a whole lot.
it's pretty brief.
It was
The
really
last
brief,
episode, yeah.
exactly. This is definitely a lot more dialogue between the two and a lot more steaminess. Whew. Hi, Gendry. So Gendry is at work forging the dragonglass weapons and sees Arya. They talk about the weapon that she's asked for, which at this point we still really don't know what it is. We just have seen the drawing before, but she wants to know more about the the dead? How many has Gendry killed? What do they look like? What do they smell like? How do they move? How hard are they to kill? And he's not giving her like sufficient answers. And
I don't think he knows how to put it to answers, put it into words.
that's that's fair. And Gendry says, this is death. That's what they're like, is death. And Arya, in the most Arya-like fashion, picks up a dragon glass arrow and starts chucking it at the wall and hits bullseye 3 times, right? And she says, I know death. Swish. He's got many faces. Swish. I look forward to seeing this one. Swish.
She's the darts champion at Winterfell, I'm pretty sure.
I would love to play darts with her. That'd be like super cool. I'm probably terrible at it, but that'd be cool. And then Gendry is naturally impressed, and he's like, I'll start working on that right away.
Right.
And he's just like, whew, she's got something. Initial reactions, anyone? George.
I thought, I like that they're having another like connection, and they're just like, Gendry saw that, he was like, oh, it's like, oof, I like that.
He's like, I like this strong woman.
I like that.
Yeah.
And, but no, I like their interactions. I think I told you I wanted to see them together, and I think finally this episode they
Is
got
it
to.
awkward, or is it like, are they still trying to figure out how to flirt with one another, or do you?
It is. They're both awkward, but
They're both
it's fine.
Yeah,
It works out for them.
Yeah,
It could be the end of the world for him. So
That-
it's
That's
like,
true.
That's,
you know,
That's true.
That's exactly what happened.
very much so. Justin, what's your take?
No, I liked them. Like
Yeah.
George, I was a fan of it. I thought it was better because last week there were just very brief interactions with them, and
Right.
also with her and the Hound. You get some more of that later on.
We do.
We'll get to that
Definitely
too,
do.
That was-
yeah, it was more reunions, like you mentioned, but kind of more detail
Yep.
involved in this one.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Frank?
I thought it was cute. Like, not cute like as in
hate that
adorable,
word.
but cute like as in you're very ignorant to what's about to happen. Like, oh, I've seen death. I have faces in my back pocket. I can do this. Like,
Yeah.
you haven't seen.
She has no
like,
clue.
You have no
Yeah.
clue. You're throwing
That's
darts in the
true.
water. Like, this is zombies. This is possibly the destruction of the human race.
She's never been in battle either.
Yeah, she never like
Right.
so this hubris that's oozing out of her pores. I think it's awesome that she's confident, but you don't know what you're dealing with. You have no playbook how to defeat this thing, and and I think from the trailer, it's gonna be a very rude awakening for her.
I agree. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The Godswood. Bran spends a lot of time in the Godswood, naturally. First question right off the bat, how in the world is this wayward tree like surviving in both summer
Winter.
and winter? Like it's just like thriving, with this wonderful red leaves, and it's just,
Sort of like a history of that tree.
is there like a
or
magic
something?
behind it or something? Like,
I think it's like mulch, right? And
Oh my
you put
gosh.
something in mulch.
The soil.
leave it to Justin. No, I mean, that honestly, like I'm looking at the scene, and it's a beautiful scene, as always, and I'm just like, man, like how's this tree like surviving?
Does it ever mention that in the
even
books?
even in the credits, the willow tree in the credits is thriving and it's glowing in Winterfell.
Yeah.
There's some significance behind it. I'm not sure what it is.
But they're magical, right? Or something.
They have, they
Yeah, I
possess
mean,
some kind of
it's-
magic.
Yeah,
There
one
you
that turn the forest.
That's
yeah.
it.
That's
That's
it.
answer.
Yeah, we're good.
It's magic.
Check. Covered that.
All right, but at the Godswood, Bran is obviously sitting there because what else can he do? No offense. Contemplating, and Jamie is now approaching.
So
I know, that was bad. I'm sorry. That's very.
He would be like working out or, getting a run or something, but,
Yeah.
he can't because he's
Yeah,
disabled.
my bad, y'all.
Yeah.
No offense. But Jamie is approaching Bran and kind of skeptical, and straight up says, "I'm sorry for what I did." And Bran, being Bran, says, "You weren't then. You were protecting your family. I'm not that person anymore." Jamie says, "You still would be if you had not pushed me out of that window. I would still be Brennan Stark." To which Jamie's like, "You're not." And Brandon says, "No, I'm something much different now." And I don't know if y'all caught this, but a raven cawed right after that moment.
Oh, I didn't catch
did not
that.
catch
Oh, cool. I caught
did
something
not
that
catch
y'all
that.
didn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool because it was just like perfect timing. He's like three-eyed raven, caw caw. And Jamie obviously is perplexed because Bran hasn't really explained his abilities to
anybody.
to
Yeah.
anybody
Yeah,
because
really.
it's difficult to explain. But as he tells more and more people like what he is or who he is, he kind of sheds a little bit more light. But it's Jamie. Why would he tell it Jamie? And Jamie questions, why, if you're not because Bran says he's not angry about what happened, Jaime says, well, if you're not angry, why didn't you say anything in the Great Hall? And Bran says, you won't be able to help us fight if I let them murder you first. And I feel like that's really important because to me, that kind of calls to, in the Marvel Comics universe, with Doctor Strange in Infinity Wars. Spoilers, guys, in case you haven't watched it. How Doctor Strange looked into the future and he saw 14 million possibilities of how they could win, and there was only one way. So you would think they're going to take the one approach to
Yo,
try
so
to win.
I have a question. So Bran can see into the future?
I don't know.
Okay, well that's what I was wondering.
He's not a green seer.
Okay.
Jojen was a green seer.
Oh, yeah, Jojen was a green seer, right.
Bran can only see.
He's a
he
warg.
can warg, and then he can see
Things in
everything in
the
the past,
Present
and
and
everything's
past.
going on now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I still kind of feel like Bran knows that there's some importance that Jaime has to, contribute to
Yeah.
this war. And I don't know, I just kind of, like I said, I feel there's like a Doctor Strange kind of element to this. Obviously, there's going to be some massive outcome, and Jaime, is a part of it. And Jaime's kind of relieved when Bran says, he's not going to let him be murdered. And afterwards, to which Bran says, how do you know there's an afterwards? And it's like, oh, dang. This is getting real, like really, really quick. So first of all, what do we make of this reunion? Frank, is it everything you expected?
I thought it would be a little bit more. There's a lot of symmetry between episode 1 and between those two guys and now. I think Jaime's perplexed to the point where how can he forgive me? But he doesn't understand that that's not Bran anymore. This is a higher power now. This is a guy. If anything, the Three-Eyed Raven is thankful for what Jaime has done because Jaime put him he put Bran on the road to become what he is today, and what he is today is going to be very critical for the war to come. So, and that's the problem. I wish that we can. That's the only beef with the show. I wish that I wish we can kind of like really cultivate and develop is Bran explain to the rest of his comrades what he can do. Because I don't think Jon really understands. I don't think Dany understands. Sansa Arya somewhat understands from Baelish last season. But to be able to really showcase what he can do, that can really help in the war to come. Because I don't think Jon knows that Bran and Night King they're connected. Like they should have seen him touching the mark.
told him.
But Jon knows nothing, so.
But
He knows more now.
He knows the North.
Does
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much blanks to. There's so many blanks and none were really filled with Bran's ability to be a MVP in this war to come. I mean, they have a lot of history, and not just Bran, but Bran has information. He's like a computer with all the previous Three-Eyed Ravens.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that they were able to really convey that to his comrades so they know what they're dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah. What do y'all think about the reunion?
I like the scene. To me, the scene really shows like how those characters have changed so drastically since the first episode. Honestly, like what happened in the first episode was a big incident for both of them, but they've had no interaction since then, and so it's kind of like they really don't have a whole lot to talk about besides what happened that day, which was 8 years ago or whatever it was in the time of the show, and they both kind of Jaime's trying to beg for forgiveness, and Bran's like, "Look, that's not even me anymore," and almost like trying to say, like, if you had done that, who knows where we'd be?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I was a fan of it. I liked it.
No, yeah, I thought it was a great scene. Pretty much they covered all the bases, like everything that happened with them. Like they pretty much like squashed everything. Like that's it. They got to move on. Like it doesn't even matter anymore.
Jaime's like 2 for 2 right now because
Yeah.
he went before Dany and Sansa, and it's kind of like Brienne vouched for him, and good on that front. Now he's good on Bran. Let's keep going. Let's keep this train going. So Tyrion and Jaime, because they're at Winterfell, they're talking about how they're being received by the Northerners. Northerners, as we know, are pretty fickle. But they have every right to not like Jaime because of what had happened with Ned. And so they're discussing this. They're discussing Dany. Tyrion reassures Jaime she's different from her father. And then they also discuss Cersei.
See, that doesn't make sense to me. This is my beef with the North. Like, just 2 seasons ago, you had Northern houses fighting for Ramsay Bolton. You forgave them.
But the Boltons were part of the North.
Huh?
The Boltons were part of the North.
Yeah, but they portrayed their liege lord and Ned Stark and his family.
Say
I
that.
think on like her defense, she means like they were from the
They're
north.
from the north.
Betrayal's betrayal.
Yeah.
It's
But
even
I mean,
worse.
but
It's
they
even
were
worse when
sticking
your own
together?
brethren.
I don't know.
But it's even worse when your own brethren betrays you. Like Jaime has never been affiliated with the North, so I can understand him doing what he did. I get that. But when your own brethren, your own bannermen betray you, to me that's even worse. These guys are pledged the promise. They made a promise to your liege lord to always have your back and always call when the banners are being called, and they murdered the liege lord's heir in the Red Wedding, and they basically steal the North away from the Starks. But all is forgiven. House Glover's, we forgive them. House Umber, we forgive
No,
them.
we never forgive Glover. You can.
Oh, okay.
buy
Well,
it.
House Umber, we forgive you. House Castle, we forgive
Oh,
you.
they're
But you have beef with Jaime and Daenerys. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, I'm with that. North is pretty fickle, like I said, but we'll see. We'll see if they'll make it out alive. But going back to the conversation between Jaime and Tyrion, they're talking about Cersei and what you brought up earlier about Cersei being pregnant, and that's why Tyrion cut the deal that he did with her, if there is a deal that's cut. So Tyrion asks Jaime, is it true about the baby? And Jaime says, yes. My whole issue with this is Jaime acknowledged to Dany and the rest of the Great Hall that Cersei lied about sending armies, about aiding the North, and she lied to Jaime about everything. So if he knows she lies, why does he believe that she's actually pregnant?
Good question.
I don't know why either of them
I don't-
believe that still.
It's hard to believe anything she says or
Exactly.
does. Yeah.
I just like the one thing that you are going to hold true. Like that's just interesting to me.
Yeah.
But Tyrion says something that I really, really liked, and he says she's always been good at using the truth to tell lies. And I think that's just incredible. Like you have to be super smart to be able to like manipulate people like that. And Jaime says, don't be too hard on yourself. She's fooled me more than anyone. And Tyrion gives like this really kind of like pitiful, not pitiful, but like, oh, you poor fool, kind of like, kind of like, she's never fooled you. You knew exactly who she was, but you loved her anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Sibling love, it's real.
Apparently so.
Real weird.
So, like, it's just, they're special. But moving on, Tyrion notes that they're going to die at Winterfell. And he calls back on how he thought he would die, which some of it I'm going to talk about, some of it I really can't.
Yeah.
He thought he'd be 80 with a belly full of wine and with a woman. We're going to leave it that way. And Jaime's like totally uninterested. He's kind of caught up with Brienne. But Tyrion goes on to talk about how he's not going to give Cersei the satisfaction of killing him, that the dead's going to take care of that. And that maybe once he is dead, he'll go down to King's Landing and rip Cersei apart himself. Plot twist. Is this how the Valonqar prophecy going to be fulfilled?
That'd be funny.
Tyrion is a
That'd be
White
awesome.
Walker and goes and murders his sister.
I'd be so whack.
Really?
I don't
That'd
wanna
be
see
funny.
that.
You don't want to see that?
No.
Oh.
I think
It's not
I
gonna
think
happen.
you brought up one of y'all brought up episode 1 about how if Jaime falls, Arya steals his face.
Me.
You, okay. Steals his face and goes to King's Landing. That would be more cool to me.
That'd be cool. That really
Because
would be cool. I want that to happen.
Yeah, that would tie up
Yeah.
the faces, the
Still, you
Valonqar.
say that like if he takes over as a White Walker, does he have control or is the Night King in control? So like it's not like he's gonna go kill Cersei. Like it's
Yeah.
actually him.
Right.
Yeah.
Still.
Either
But
way,
that's
I
the thing.
think-
It's
yeah.
fulfilling the
That'd
Valonqar,
be funny.
prophecy. The little brother kills her. Anyway, but Jaime, like I said, is kind of distracted by Brienne. She's training the soldiers. Podrick, by the way,
Yo, he got
good.
he got like
He's got some skill.
He's got some skills
He's
now.
got
I was
some
like, dang,
skills.
okay.
Yeah, he's doing.
Man
like,
of many talents, as we learned later
Oh,
on in the
man.
episode. We learned previously.
Amazing singer. The
Amazing.
greatest singer in Westeros. Sorry, Ed Sheeran.
He's got some magic all of his own. So,
Sorry, Ed Sheeran.
but so Jaime and Brienne start talking. They talk a little bit about Podrick. They talk battle strategy, and then she's upset that they've gone this. They've had this conversation. He has not once insulted her, and he's like, "Do you want me to?" Well, no. And
That was so weird.
it was kind of weird, but like that's how people like flirt in a weird way. I don't know why. Like
Yeah.
it
I
is.
think for
what it is.
Brienne, like definitely because she doesn't know what's happening. Like she
Well,
cares
that's
about
true.
him, and
She hasn't
she's just
been
like,
pursued.
she's like, ah.
But ultimately, Jaime says, I'm not the fighter that I used to be, but I am offering my services to you if you will have me, and it would be an honor. And I'm like, I'm still shipping Jaime and Brienne so hard. I'm like, you guys
No.
come together, please. No?
No. Torment all the way.
I still want Torment, man.
This, I'll talk about it in a bit, but it was fun.
Yeah, I still want Torment.
Dany and Jorah. We saw them for the first time together talking with Sam in last week's episode. And now Jorah's coming to Dany to, advise her, as he should. And says, there was a time where I made many mistakes and you forgave me. You should do the same for Tyrion. Bad idea? Good idea? What do y'all think?
I didn't think Jorah was gonna do that. Honestly, I didn't see that coming.
You didn't see him vouching for Tyrion?
No.
No?
Like, it caught me by surprise. So, like, I think it's cool that he defended him like that, but and he explained like his situation with Tyrion's, but
He basically wanted to throw him off the boat,
yeah. So
before.
yeah, but he's right. He has a smart mind, but everyone makes mistakes. So like just like he did. So
And at
hopefully
this
he
point,
redeems himself in the future.
Yeah.
at this point, it's too late in the game to make a change. You got to circle the wagons and just go with who you got. And obviously, Jorah is a great warrior. He's going to be on the field.
Yeah.
He can't be the hand of the king. I mean, the hand of
Because
the queen.
he could die or something.
Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah, most warriors aren't hand of the king.
Right,
They're more intellectual, cerebral based, and off the
yeah,
battlefield.
he needs to be out there. And I think he's just saying, look, this is our team. This guy, he's smart. He's made a lot of mistakes, but like, this is who we got. We got to roll with this guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too that he was, vouching for Tyrion, and it seems like that's kind of what's happening in this episode. Like people are vouching for other people, which is kind of cool. Like I
Yeah.
said, with this redemption and whatnot. But one other thing that Jorah continues to advise Dany on is to pretty much make peace with Sansa.
Yeah.
Yes, and I thought that was a really interesting scene because I've stated it before. Girls are just catty, like they really are. They're petty, they're catty. I can say that. But we see that Sansa's,
You can't.
no, you can't.
No, I cannot say that.
No, you cannot say that.
No, I want to see the next day. So.
These two are especially because they're both very power hungry. Or
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah.
they
It
both
seems
are,
to be
yeah.
both of them.
exactly. But what I thought was really interesting in the beginning was when Lord Royce, from the Vale, he's counseling with Sansa and he leaves. And he bows at Dany, which I thought was interesting because he was like one of the first to say a Targaryen cannot be trusted. But he's still kind of like showing that respect for her. She is my queen, but like, is he doing that?
He doesn't want to get beheaded. That's
Well,
why.
that's fair. That's
Burned
fair.
alive.
Burn them all. But yeah, so Dany and Sansa have like a little heart to heart, and basically Dany's saying, extending that olive branch, let's try to work things out. And Sansa says about Brienne, I trust her more than anybody. And the fact, in regards to Jaime, why Sansa went ahead and vouched for Jaime as well. And Sansa comes to Tyrion's defense and says, Tyrion is a good man. He honestly is. He was always kind to me and whatnot. And then there's that actual elephant in the room that we're going to bring up about the Dany Jon situation. And it's straight up asked, you don't like this whole idea between me and your brother? And she's like, well, men do stupid things for women, which I do agree with in many instances. But Dany kind of flips it around and she's like, I'm here. All I've ever known is I wanted the Iron Throne, but I'm here in the North with your brother. So trying to say like I put aside my doings, for someone else. But then the big question, what's going to happen after this war? Is the North going to stay independent, or is it going to be expected to be a part of the Seven Kingdoms? Because we already know that the Iron Islands have been asked to be given back, and Tyrion advised her. Dany is saying, what if everyone else, demands their lands back? And she's like, well, they can ask. Well, Sansa's asking.
Right.
What do
She
you-
still got like upset about it when like as soon as she asked that, she's like everything was progressing so fine.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
okay,
they
we're getting
had
along, everything's
they had their
going great.
hands on top of each other.
And then
she's
she's just like,
she's like,
yeah, it's
"Get
about
off."
the North. No,
I
no,
mean,
you can't have it.
but it's fair though. Yara and Theon asked for the Iron Islands to
Yeah,
be
that's true.
given back. Why can't
It's a good
the North?
comparison.
Yeah, exactly. Dany made one exception. Why can't she make the exception? Is she going to make the exception for the North?
I don't want to answer because that's going to be part of my Let's Be Frank segment.
Oh, okay.
Because
Well, hold
sometimes
on that then.
I'm
Well,
a-
I
I'm
really
a-
want
yeah.
I really want to hear your take on this,
Yeah,
but
so.
just open-ended question. We'd like to hear what you guys think about this too. Back in the Great Hall, Theon arrives, And I have like mixed feelings when it comes to Theon in many ways, just because I kind of relate it to like Lord of the Rings. It's like, why is he still alive? Like, what purpose does he serve? And when I say Lord of the Rings, I mean Gollum. Like, why was Gollum like still around? You know, but Gollum served a purpose. Theon probably is going to serve a purpose. But the reunion between Theon and Sansa was very visibly emotional. And Justin, I think you had said to me, kind of got you a little
Kind
bit.
of got me a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not either a fan of either one of the characters, but it's just something about them. I mean, they're very emotional. Like, he was basically one of her brothers because he grew up with them. So it was like, I don't know.
And then he betrayed her.
Yeah, but he's basically saying, hey, I'm coming back. Like,
And he saved her.
I'm going to
And then he
die
saved
for
her.
your family, basically, because your family raised me and that kind of stuff. So,
And she was really like, oh my God, you know.
When's the last time they saw each other? It was once they split off, right?
Yes.
Once they escaped, and
So
then
that was in season 6.
Yeah.
Season 6?
And he very easily could have stayed with Yara
Yeah.
Yeah.
and sailed,
Definitely.
to find Euron, but he's like, no, I'm going to go there.
He's,
So-
yeah. Because John did tell him, he's like, you're a Greyjoy, but you're also a Stark.
Stark, yeah.
You know, you can be both. Do y'all think Dany is bothered by how Sansa is so well received by everybody?
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That
for
goes,
sure.
That goes up to my Coop Snow calls that
Oh,
Khaleesi.
see, we're not going to go
Yeah, for
into
sure.
that. I love that
Oh,
name. What's it called again? Coop calls out Khaleesi?
Coop Snow calls that Khaleesi.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm-
Awesome.
I'm-
Well, we'll
I'm-
save that discussion.
Oh, I'm gonna tell her a new one. Yeah, for
Oh
sure.
my gosh.
Yeah.
This next scene, it struck a chord with me because Davos and Gilly are obviously aiding the northern men and women who are either going to fight or they're going to be led to the crypts. And this little northern girl, she comes up to Davos with her little bowl and says, "Where do I go?" And he stops and looks at her because she has a visible scar on
She
her
looked just like
face.
Shireen.
She looks.
Yeah.
She reminds
That's
him
exactly
of
what I thought
Shireen,
of. I
and
was
he's
like,
just
what?
exactly. He's taken him back, and Gilly kind of sees this interaction happening as well, and she walks over to this little girl and says to her, you know, I'd feel a lot better if you were in the crypts. And Davos says, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The little girl says, I want to fight with my brothers. And Gilly says, well, I feel better if you were in the crypts. And then Davos says, yes, you can fight, you know, protect the
us, right?
people in the
Yeah.
crypts.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, I'll do it. And I'm like, oh my God, you're
That's such a
so
nice
sweet.
scene.
And I'm like, please don't die. Like, just please don't
Probably will.
die.
Probably, well, we won't see it, though. We probably won't see it. She'll be under a lot of bodies, so it's like,
Oh man,
just reality.
you're just awful. Oh my gosh.
Facts.
Facts.
Facts. Facts.
I can't deal with you right now. Moving on with Tormund, Ed, and Beric, they finally make the return to Winterfell, and it's this wonderful like interaction between Jon and Ed, and you're kind of like, well, where's Tormund? Boom, he comes in like a football player, you know, just tackles him and calls Jon my little crow. You know, it's just awesome, and they all greet and they talk about obviously what happened in the last Hearth. You know, House Umber, is now fighting for the dead, and the question.
That was funny.
Exactly. And the question is, how much time do we have? Well, until the sun comes up. And Tormund obviously is, you know, concerned about that, but he's more concerned about a special individual that's already at Winterfell.
Brienne, the big woman's still here.
I mean, he just dramatically turns, and I kind of feel like in the background you see Jon is just kind of like, oh my God, like really, you know, that's what you're concerned about? Did y'all get that, or was it just me? Okay. All right.
It was comic relief.
was comic
It was a
relief.
good time to
Yeah.
say something funny.
Yeah, I think Frank has been right about Tormund. Yeah, he's definitely like the comic relief.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he has to be.
Yeah,
It's,
he
it's
has
so
to be.
much grim and gloominess to the show. And he's
Yeah,
the one bright
definitely.
spot that kind of
Yeah.
brings the human side of
Definitely.
yeah. Especially the part where they're around the map and they creating battle plans. He's like, yeah, we're all gonna die tomorrow. We're all gonna die.
Yeah.
But at least we'll die together. Like
Yeah.
it was
And
just
he
like
looks at Brienne
And he
like,
smiles like that's his pickup line. Like that's his.
that's a great pickup
that's your
line.
pickup line, bro. Like that's how we get down. Like it's just that was
I
was
mean,
a great.
For other characters, maybe that works later on. We find out. But,
Oh, I'm sold. But speaking about the map, you know, we now have to figure out how we're going to tackle the dead.
Yeah.
And so Jon, Dany, Tyrion, Sansa, Arya, Brienne, Theon, all these other people are strategizing. And we hear Jon's voiceover speech of they're coming.
Yeah.
They have we have the dragon glass and Valyrian steel, but there are too many of them, far too many.
Yeah.
Our enemy doesn't tire, doesn't stop, doesn't feel. And it's really cool to hear like that actually like
very
come to play.
dramatic.
It's very, very dramatic. But you also see like the castle is obviously setting up for this battle that's about to happen. We finally get insight about the Night King and what his purpose, if you can call it a purpose, but what his intentions are from Bran. Bran shares that the Night King is coming for him. And the Night King has tried with many three-eyed ravens to come for him. What ultimately the Night King wants is an endless night. So it's like a virus, he just wants everyone to die. He wants to erase the world, including Bran, who is the world's memory. And I really like what Sam says in front of everyone about that's what this is, death. That's what death is. Death is forgetting, being forgotten. Your memories do not come from books, referring to Bran. And remember, Sam spent time in the Citadel, and Ebros, the maester over there, said that we basically are or log the memories of the world in books, but Bran himself is the book or is the memory of the world. And Bran basically says that he needs to be used as bait to lure the Night King, and he will be in the Godswood. How do y'all feel about Theon volunteering himself in the Ironborn to protect Bran? Given the history that Theon and Bran have had when Theon, turned on the North, George, what do you?
I think it was like he's trying to redeem himself.
Yeah.
Theon's like that character that's gone through so much.
He has.
But like just finding himself as a person and then just going through everything that happened, getting tortured, betraying once, twice, like.
Yeah.
So, I think it's great. Like he's gonna die there defending Bran.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's gonna die.
I
All of
feel
them.
good.
Well-
I think the next episode he dies.
Yeah.
What is dead may never die.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dany instructs Tyrion to go into the crypt. We're actually not sure if Dragonfire is actually going to kill the Night King because it's never been done before.
No one's tried it.
No one's tried it.
Yeah.
It needs to be tried. And to which you had said, Tormund says, well, we're all going to die, but at least we'll die together.
I think that scene gave not to venture off too far, but I think that scene gave him a deeper insight of the Night King and his wishes. Like, if you remember season 6, where Bran, it shows the vision of the Children of the Forest plunging that dragon stone, that dragon glass into.
Not the hot pie?
You mean the
not
hot pie?
right?
That was a great edit.
Yeah.
Thank
That
you,
was
Nathan.
such a good edit.
Right?
Shout outs to Nathan, our director, producer, editor extraordinaire. He's
Yeah.
awesome.
But I think that vision of the dragon glass being plunged into, presumably what I think was the Night King, and I think him wanting to erase human race, all of the humankind that's where he used to be, and seeing all these humans is a reminder of what he used to be, and I think he hates that he's not human anymore, so he wants to erase every single iota of human being that's left on this planet and make it a long night, simply because he's no longer human, and I don't think he wants to see a reminder of what he used to be. And I think and what Sam was breaking that down was spot on. I mean, death has there is no mindset with death. It's just a mindless. It's just a mindless ending of just.
It's just darkness.
Just darkness. Yeah.
It's like
There's
a
nothing.
forever night
Yeah.
or whatever.
The
you
Red
mentioned.
Woman asked John that when he was resurrected. What did you see? What was there? And he says nothing. There was nothing. So, speaking of death, Missandei and Grey Worm,
Yo, that was awkward.
are they sharing like what could possibly be their last, kind of moment
I think so.
together?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I don't know that the one that we think is going to die is going to die. And I think Frank has some.
We talked
some
about
insight
that
on
before the
yeah.
show, and I don't think Grey Worm dies now.
You don't think Grey Worm's gonna die?
No, I think Mr. Sunday talking about how much he wants to go back home and see the beaches
Knopf.
and all of that. Knopf, yeah.
You hear that? He's like, Noff.
Yeah. And I think she dies. And
You think she dies?
Yeah, and I could see a scenario where Grey Worm brings her ashes back to Narf and like spreads them. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
As a Shakespearean type of ending.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
you know.
he talked about, or they talked about, she wants to see the beaches again, but and he wants to go with her, and she says, "My people are peaceful. They don't know how to protect themselves." He goes, "My people are not peaceful. We will protect you." And I'm like, "Oh my God! Like, just like kill me right now." It's so sweet. So you're now switching from Grey Worm perishing to Missandei.
Yeah, it's just even with the love stories in this Game of Thrones story, it's 9 10 times it's been the woman that's died. Whether it's Ygritte, was it Shay? I think
Shay
that,
needed to die. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, but I think that pattern will stay true to the season. I think
Yeah.
Sunday meets her end, and I think Grey Worm would deal with that and like pretty much give Miss Sunday her last wishes of like taking her back home to her.
I could see that.
I can see that. That's beautiful. I really, that's a good take on it.
Suck, but
I know, because you're very partial to Miss Sunday.
I think she's an absolute goddess.
She's beautiful.
Yeah,
she really
she
is.
is. Yeah.
She's very beautiful. Grey Worm's a lucky man while he still has her.
He is very lucky. Yeah.
Guys, Ghost has finally returned
Finally.
after 15 seasons. Episodes, sorry, I'm getting like, it feels like 15 seasons. It's been 15 episodes. The last time we saw Ghost was season 6, episode 3, after Jon's resurrection.
Yeah.
Where have you been, Ghost?
We don't
Where?
see him for very long. It's
Not
very
at all.
quick.
No.
It's almost like he was CGI'd in later. Like those
Yeah.
guys have
Like an
a scene.
afterthought?
Yeah,
Like, we
Budget.
better throw him in there because
Well,
people are
hey,
pretty
you know who
upset
hasn't been in the
about
show?
that.
Let's just throw him in for
because
no
no one's
reason.
like, here, boy. There's nothing like nothing. Like so, yeah.
Is he fully grown now? Like, as a direwolf, is he fully grown? Because Nymeria looked huge when we first saw her. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe to your point with, like, they just CGI'd him later on. Like,
Kind of just mad at John.
Well, he was a real
why are you mad at
leader.
Jon?
Because he didn't acknowledge that he was there. He didn't even pet him like, good boy.
Yeah.
Nice to see you, Ghost. I'm so happy you're back. Nothing. No acknowledgement from anybody. He's just there.
That's true.
I
sitting
think he's in the
back.
doghouse.
Oh, trust me, I was like sitting, I was sitting there watching it last time, like, Ghost! You know, just, sorry, I'm being a dork. But on a serious note, Jon and Sam are talking about Dany. You know, has Jon told Dany who he really is? You know, is he biding his time? But they really can't talk long because Ed, lovable Ed, shows up and quotes, you know, part of their oath. And now our watch begins because they're standing on the walls of Winterfell. And as they continue talking, Jon suggests to Sam, you know, hey, you should go into the crypts with Gilly and little Sam to protect them. And Sam kind of like is pretty like ticked off about this because he's like, you know, you all forget that I was the first to kill a White Walker. I killed Ed, then, and you know, they're going back and forth, but ultimately, what it boils down to is that, you know, they've lost brothers along the way. They're the only ones left. And Ed says, the last man left, burn the rest. And I just think I kind of feel like that whole interaction was just kind of like thrown in there as like an afterthought in a weird way, like kind of how you feel with Ghost just kind of being thrown in there.
Yep.
But I don't know, just because we haven't seen Ed too much. I don't know, what's your
I think
take?
he dies. I think that was like
think
his
Ed dies?
goodbye to all of us watchers. Like that. This
So,
is it.
so he's not going to be the man
No,
left.
I think he had a nice little reunion with his former,
Yeah.
his what were they? The
Watch.
Nice.
the
Watch.
Night's Watchmen. Yeah, he had a nice reunion with them, and then this is it for him. He's probably gonna perish in the next episode, unfortunately.
And there it kind of seems like there's a lot of characters that we're potentially saying goodbye to as we keep going into just this next scene. We like to call it the campfire scene. And Tyrion, Jaime, Brienne, Pod, Tormund, and Davos are, you know, congregating by the fire because it's cold. By the way, it's still really cold down here too. I don't know if you guys are still freezing. I'm freezing.
We could use a fire.
We could use a fire.
Definitely.
Yeah, that'd be nice. But they're talking, and it begins with Jaime and Tyrion. They're talking about their father, and Jaime kind of is a little taken aback when Tyrion mentions, you know, their father, and he's like, "I wish father was here. That way he could see us defending Winterfell." And Jaime kind of like,
I was like, yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, that would be funny." And
It's good seeing those guys together again, man.
What's that?
It's good seeing those guys together again. I really long for that reunion, those two brothers.
yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna-
yeah, it's really sweet. But they were calling their first time at Winterfell and how Jaime was the golden lion and Tyrion, not so much. He had other interests and he misses it. He really misses it. And if you guys can't, you know, read between the lines, go back and watch the earlier seasons of Game of Thrones. And but Brienne and Pod enter. Pod wants to have a drink with Tyrion, and Brienne says only a half cup. Well, Tyrion's like, you're gonna get the full cup.
Yeah.
Like you're just gonna, you know, chug.
Heavy pour
Heavy
there by
pour.
that's Tyrion.
And they're all talking by the fire. Davos and Tormund arrive, and Davos is cold. He wants to, you know, get warm. And Brienne acknowledges Tormund really directly for the very first time, it seems, and says, you know, I'm glad that you're here. And Tormund's just like, You know, and she's like, I'm glad that you're here, you know, to fight with us. You know, I'm glad that you survived Eastwatch. You know, giving him that little bit of hope, and then it's just like drops. You know, and then Tormund shares his story about how he got the name Giant Spade. Do y'all believe it?
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you actually believe it?
Yeah.
That a giant?
I read this on the internet.
That's
they
what
said
he said
in the book,
books.
there,
Yeah,
it
he
said
was
Giant's
telling-
Babe. There's a typo in the book, but supposedly it's for that
Giant's
reason.
Babe.
Giant's
Yeah.
Babe?
Babe.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's because of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of that
He
story.
told John that very same story in the book.
In the books, okay.
In
I haven't read the
yeah.
books, so I obviously don't know.
Yeah.
That was really interesting. I just think because the fact that in earlier seasons he talked about how he made love to a bear, and Egret kept calling him out and saying, like, you never actually did that. So I just wondered, like, how true this actually, you know, was. So is that the key to making giant babies? It's Giant's milk.
Giant's milk.
Giant's milk.
That to which, you know, he
I
chugged.
think we've all learned over the years you're supposed to drink milk. That's how you get big and strong.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't get the memo.
yeah.
Under
milk?
five,
Yeah.
under 5 foot over here. So, the Hound, Arya, and Beric share a moment on the wall. Very brief,
Yeah.
all too very brief. But it was a lot better a reunion between Arya and the Hound. And he kind of tells her, he's like, you know, I tried to protect you.
Yeah.
You know, because she asked, you know, has there ever been a time where you weren't fighting for someone else? You know, have you ever fought for yourself? And he's like, well, I fought for you. And I thought that was kind of a sweet moment because the Hound, as you can recall, had been on her list. And then he's no longer on her list.
Yeah.
Enter Beric Dondarrion, and all he wants to talk about is the Lord of Light. Everyone's like, peace, I'm done. I don't want to hear this. You know,
Arya had other plans.
Arya did
Yeah.
have other
Yeah.
Clearly.
That's next, right?
That's kind of next, yes. I don't know the location of this place. Is it like the stables? Is it like the forge?
I think it was in the forge.
Was it in the forge?
Yeah.
Okay, I
Pretty
thought
sure,
it looked like
yeah.
the stables. But Arya, and it's a great callback to the very first episode of season 1 is, you know, she's shooting arrows. Gendry, you know, finally gives her the weapon, and she wants to know what happened with the Red Woman. Yeah, we all know what happened with the Red Woman. Basically, Arya wants to
No, his dating history.
know his dating history and wants to experience love for the very first time before they go into battle. And we're going to move on from that.
Congrats.
It was awkward for many people.
Yeah.
We're gonna definitely kind of breeze on through the rest of this stuff, guys, just because, you know, I want to hear George's hot take, and I definitely want to hear Frank's. You know, Coop Snow calls out Khaleesi, but a lot has gone on. The main points that we really need to get to is the title of
Yep.
the episode, which is A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Brienne had always wanted to be a knight. She wanted to have be in Renly's Kingsguard when he was still alive. And Jaime, being very thoughtful and very selfless, he says, you know, a king doesn't have to knight you, a knight can. He says, Brienne, kneel. And he knights her as Sir Brienne of Tarth, you know, a knight of the Seven Kingdoms. And I thought that was a really empowering moment, like, just for women, because we see so many women are, like, moving into these, like, positions of power, and everyone was genuinely so happy for her, you know. Because
deserved it.
She deserved it, exactly. It was... I agree with you, Justin. She won this episode, like, for
Definitely.
freaking
She
sure.
won.
She
It was-
won this
yeah.
episode. Other people think Arya and Gendry because of what happened, but I'm with.
They're in the running. They're in the running.
Exactly. But no, they weren't running. I'm with total Brienne. She definitely won this episode, and not because she demanded it. You know, it was given to her. More fireside chat continues. But before that, we see Jorah and Lyanna. They finally have a reunion. They're cousins, House Mormont cousins. And she basically tells him, you know, I'm going to fight, and I wish you good fortune.
Good luck. I'm out.
Peace out.
That was it.
Peace out. And then Sam approaches with Heartsbane, which is the Tarly family sword that is of Valyrian steel, and he gives it to Jorah and says, you know, your father saved me. You know, let me give this to you. And Jorah says, I will honor my father and you. And I thought that was really, like,
Great
really,
moment.
really great moment. And Sam, like, walks away and says, I hope we win. And it was just, like, heartbreaking to me, too. But, you know, it's, please, everyone, be okay. More campfire scene. Tyrion wants a song. No one knows a song. No one wants to sing. Davos says, you'll be begging for death, which I thought was funny. Pod starts singing out of nowhere. I guess that full cup of wine just, you know, really hit him. And he sings, like, this great song.
Poured it up.
And it's like this character montage. We see kind of like the final final scenes for lots of people in this episode. And then finally, in the crypts, Jon and Dany, they share a moment. Dany learns about who Lyanna Stark is, and Jon reveals who he actually is. And she's kind of caught off guard. She's like, oh, it's so convenient that your best friend and brother tell you this. You have a better claim to the
That was
Seven
so
Kingdoms.
annoying.
It really was. And then the war horn blares, the White Walkers have arrived, and
Of course.
we don't see the Night King yet, but we see the generals on horseback and scene. It's a lot. So
Yeah,
sorry
it's
that
a
took a
lot.
little bit longer, but you know, there's a lot to unpack with this this episode. So, but Frank, I want to hear about. Let's be frank.
Yeah, so this whole Mother of Dragons, Khaleesi thing is starting to get on my nerves a little bit. The lack of maturity that this woman has bestowed, conveyed the last couple seasons, is starting to frustrate me. I get it, like, you know, she's a Mother of Dragons, she's the breaker of chains. She's had a Golden State Warriors type of run the last 6 years. Can we agree to that?
Oh, yeah.
She's the one. It's this championship like
Oh,
run,
okay,
this
cool,
dynasty
cool.
like
Okay,
run
okay.
that she's showing. Like
Okay.
in season 1, we find out she's the dragon. She's immune to fire. She has the three dragon eggs. Season 2, she conquers Karth, takes the gold, and gets out of the House of Undying, buys ships. She inquires in Sully in season 3. She frees slaves in seasons 3 and 4. Like, she's had
She's had a good
a
run.
meteoric rise, right? But throughout this rise that she's had, she's had minor pushbacks with Marine and Karth and so on and so
The
forth.
Wise Masters.
Yeah, wise masters of of
Everybody.
Yunkai. But all in all, she has not had pushback from somebody that has that demands as much respect as she does. And I think her hubris is starting to get in the way. And you see that in this episode, like I think she's befuddled with Sansa. And I think she sees a little bit of herself in Sansa, and she doesn't know what to do with that. Like, Sansa really demands respect as well.
Exactly.
And I think, unfortunately, when she sees Sansa, she's not respecting the fact that women outside of herself are, in this world, have as much power as she does, and she conveys leadership as much as she does, and she's struggling with that. And I would have thought by now that she would have understood that this birthright that you have, that you think you have with this Iron Throne, does not matter. Like, what matters now is just surviving, and we can all fight on the same side and not worry about having autonomy over other people.
Yeah.
So that's my whole point with her.
So not a fan of Khaleesi.
Not at all right now.
Not right
no,
now?
No.
No.
Very mature right now.
Well, maybe with battle she'll kind of just grow out of that, but we'll see.
All right, before we go, we got a minute left. So my hot take for the week goes to Tormund for just being the most supported and loving potential boyfriend that he can be.
Aww.
I saw just a little bit him and back and forth with Jamie. I'd make you a knight in 10 times.
Oh,
and
that's right, about
And
Brienne.
then as soon as he says that, Jamie goes and does it. So
The love triangle
yeah.
begins.
So I had plenty of more, but we'll go ahead and I'll give it to Justin to close out.
You know what? We might have some bonus content. We have a lot of social media platforms, so you might see some more of us this week. But that's all we have time for right now. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate everyone who's tuning in and letting us know what to think about the show. Again, we're on social media. Please be sure to follow us and tell us what you think. We really appreciate your feedback. Thanks.